Roy Hodgson has surprised us all because he's up for it too. Not so much a bit of Eddie versus Simon, a bit about going back into football. He's back at Crystal Palace this morning. He's at the training ground after Patrick Vieira was booted out. Steve Parish and the rest have gone to Roy to say, come and help us. Roy Hodgson's taken up the challenge and he's back in spite of what he said on his way out of Watford.
You know, I took that job on and came out of the sort of retirement, if you like to call it that, to do that particular job. So now that job unfortunately is ended and I've enjoyed my time doing the job, I don't think I shall be putting my name forward anymore for further sorties, if you like, into the world of Premiership football, because it's a very demanding world, and I think perhaps now I've earned the right to step back and enjoy a bit of free time and spend some time with my wife and son.
Okay. And off he went to do that, but now he's back. It's a bit of a U-turn for Roy. He couldn't say no, it would appear, to Crystal Palace, and now it's Roy to the rescue. Is it the right move, do you think, by Parish and the rest of them, Simon?
Well, I think it's one of those that looks like a Ronseal moment, doesn't it? Because with Roy Hodgson, you just kind of get what you get what it says on it does what it says on the can, right? It didn't do what it said on the can at Watford, because I think that was a lost cause. I don't think Palace is a lost cause. I think they lack any leadership on the pitch, which is why I wasn't surprised they put Milivojevic back into the side against Arsenal, and I said they'd do that. They're rejigging the backroom staff. Ray Lewington go back in there, who was a first-class coach. Paddy McCarthy played for me at Palace. Darren Powell played for me at Palace, who's gone in there as well in the coaching staff. So they'll put a bit of fabric back into the team. They might even bring Sean Derry back into the mix, who I think is a first-class fella. So with all that in mind, look, you can go back for one last hurrah, and it could be like Sinatra doing his last concert. It could be one concert too many, and it won't be something that Roy wants to have on his resume, because Roy, during my time, was often at Palace games. He comes from Croydon. He's a Palace fan. He will add that extra ingredient into the dynamic of what these players need to get themselves out of the passive, accepting mode that they're in, to get them to battle past the games that they have, which are Southampton, Leeds, Everton, and Leicester. In the next 4 games, they've got to get points from. So it's an interesting piece of alchemy, and it could work 2 ways. It could do precisely what I've just said, which is the know-how of the football club, a lot of the personnel he knows, and the fact that he can call upon a call to action, because this is his last hurrah, and this will not be something he wants on his resume. The club he supported all his life getting relegated. The flip side of that is one time too many. Palace are in free fall, and it could be one time too many.
And that's a danger.
But I don't think so. I think Palace, whilst the league says they're 12th, it's a ridiculous 12th, because they're only, one weekend of everyone winning and Palace losing, they could be in the bottom 3.
Yeah, so but as far as these players are concerned, who can't even get a shot on target, never mind score a goal, and never mind win a game. Well, they didn't. I was down at Brighton, and they had 2 great early chances, and they missed both. That's why they're in the predicament.
And you can't read anything to the Arsenal result. Arsenal were going to hand them their head, whoever was in charge.
Right, but do the players look upon this as inspirational?
Well, I think the players will look upon it as the Patrick Vieira situation was running its course. The coaching staff, from what I understand, weren't the greatest, and the players weren't responding to them, which I don't think is great, but it is what it is. I think they'll respond to Roy Hodgson, because I think most people do. I think he'll get a tune out of them, enough of a tune to get them out of the current situation they're in. I'd be surprised if Roy Hodgson doesn't do what's required and get my mate Parish out of the proverbial.
You think?
I think so.
So to that extent, it's the right move then?
Well, yeah.
But would Vieira not have done that?
No. I think Vieira had, for whatever reason, lost the attention of the players, the manner in which they were playing, and I use the word passive repeatedly, because that's why, despite people's resistance to Milivojevic, who was once upon a time a great servant of Crystal Palace and a great leader, and maybe there's an argument that his legs have slightly gone, but the spirit he brings to the side will give them something different. The first rattling challenge he does in one of these relegation battles, if he plays again, will bring everyone else as a call to arms. Roy will bank them up, make them difficult to beat. I'm not sure he's going to make them more offensive, because that's not his stock in trade. He's going to make them more difficult to beat.
But there's a problem. They're not offensive enough.
Well, they are offensive to the Palace fans, because they're drifting down the table on that basis. But they
don't score goals.
But they are capable of scoring goals. If the whole setup of the side mentally is one of a passive nature, then every element of the pitch gets squeezed on the back foot, i.e. everyone's dropping off in a certain way, and no one is giving you what you require, and no one's believing in it. Hodgson, with a change of voice, change of direction, and again, a lot of this, Jim, the 2 biggest commodities in football are gossip and money, and they run in equal measure. The gossip about Palace is the backroom staff were nowhere near it. The players were having none of it. I don't approve of that, but that's the sentiment that I've been plugged into. Now, we will see, and I think we will see, in these 4 games, they've looked at it and gone, right now, before the World Cup, the international break, we've got 4 games. We know these 4 games are if we don't get any points out of these 4 games, we're bang in trouble. So what do? Do we go with the same voice that's got us bang in trouble? And of course the players, by the way. Or do we change it up? And it's not a win, by the way. You didn't get rid of this fella 2 years ago and believe he'd run his race to go full circle again, to go back to him because you're in desperate, shtuck. Right?
Yeah.
You got yourself in a situation where you're devoid of ideas. You don't know what to do. The experiment for 2 years, not Patrick de Boer, who came through the door and was
Frank de Boer.
Frank de Boer. Yeah, Patrick de Boer.
You've got a third.
I've got a third one. Frank, Patrick, and Ronald. Right, but not Frank de Boer that came through the door and 4 games in, you thought this is completely the wrong fit. This is someone you've had in place for 2 years, and you're rewinding the clock to Groundhog Day.
Well, exactly, which brings me back to my original question. Roy going back there this morning, Simon, is it a smart move? Is it a desperate move?
I think both, but it's a desperately smart move. Right? so with that in mind, you've got a situation. This is not about the long term.
Yeah.
This is about the here and now. This is about Parish looking at it again. Hang on a second, this could hit my pocket. This could cause me a problem. This could be an absolute debacle. I'm getting a little bit of a backlash from the Palace fans. They're not comfortable with the investment I've got from the American owners of the football club. All the wheels are coming. If I didn't rebuild the stadium like I said I was going to do, which we all knew he wasn't going to do because I tried to do it and you can't.
Yeah.
The bottom line is now we've got a challenge and I cannot, in any shape or form, risk my £3 million a year salary. I need to keep this team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Hodgson will do the job.
Roy's been clever with his quote this morning. Crystal Palace is known for its fighting spirit. I have no doubt that all our supporters will fight with us, beginning with the visit of Leicester City a week on Saturday. So he's not daft. He's getting the fans very much on side. They wouldn't be anyway. Well, you know Palace fans better than anybody.
They will be because it will be all hands to the pump. It will be, they know their value. The Palace fans, on whole, en masse, are a pretty remarkable group of fans. They really support their team. It takes a lot. There's all football fan bases. There's some sniping and there's some quarters of them. That doesn't matter if you bought them Neymar and you bought them Mbappe. They'd still pee and complain about the price of hot dogs, right? The bottom line is most of them, from the home support to the away supports, are fans that will go behind their team. They'll see the need. They'll call the need. Not Charlie last week, who seemed to think it was some fun and games to get relegated to the Championship because it'll be better away days. Yeah. Cobblers, Premier League is where the sun is. The Championship is where the rain is.
Martin is down in Brighton. That's where he is. And he's saying Crystal Palace have had 11 different managers since 2010 with 4 caretaker managers. Not really a tally for you to be proud of, is it? Martin's right.
Oh, all right, Martin. If you're a Brighton fan, you'll have your moment.
No, he's right, though. He's absolutely right.
And that's fine. Palace have been in the Premier League for 10 years. Like I said the other day, I couldn't put it there for 10 years. Nosey couldn't do it. They've been there for 10 years. Brighton are doing well at this moment in time. If he's a Brighton fan, let's not be too clever.
Do you think the direction of travel here for Palace is made clear? Or is it still, are the waters still muddied with what they're doing here? Vieira's gone. We had huge anticipation that Vieira would do well with him. It hasn't worked out. Roy's back. Safe.
This is just a call to action for a needs-must situation. You've got 11 games to go. 11 games to go? 11 games to go. And you've got to get 9 or 10 points out of these games. Who's going to do this? You could have gone for Fireman Sam. You could have, dusted off Tony Pulis and breathed some life into him because he once was there before and he knows what a relegation battle looks like. But the most recent person that knows the club, that knows a proportion of these players and will be able to get a tune out of them, even though they wanted them out of the door 2 years ago.
Yeah. This
situation is not a win, but I tell you what, they'll take this L in the column of forward thinking in the placement of a relegation.
Okay.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.